Hi, welcome everyone to the Bond Oversight Committee meeting for March 23rd, 2021. And I would like to call the meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. So let's start with the roll call, and we'll start with district staff first, then CSG, and then we'll round it out with the BOC.
Jamie Plankovich, Ferndale School District.
Tammy Longstaff, Ferndale School District.
Andrew McLaurin, Ferndale School Board.
Mark DeBach, Ferndale School District. Sorry, I was moving Joe over to panelist.
That's all right.
Not a kid.
Tex Laddish, Construction Services Group.
Ken Kiken, Construction Services Group.
Riley, you want to go?
Yep, Riley Cornelson, Bond Oversight Committee.
Dan Cornelson, Oversight Committee.
Anya Milton, Oversight Committee.
Mark Harting, Oversight Committee.
Sandy McMillan, Oversight Committee.
Brian Lynch, Bond Oversight Committee.
And Joe Lupo, Oversight Committee.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Did we get everyone? I think so. You all had an opportunity, the BOC, to review the agenda. Do you have any additions or edits to the agenda before we adopt it?
I had a couple things on the alternate member position. Could we have a conversation about maybe inviting a student observer from like a civics class or something, kind of opening it up for a student to come and see what we do?
Yes, I like that idea. So let's add that to 3.02 to talk about student alternate. Anything else?
On the bond related spending or someplace in new business, I saw that the superintendent was retiring, and I was wondering if the school district was going to postpone their bond sale for a bit that they had thought about in July. So just some kind of conversation about when is that final bond sale going to happen?
So why don't we add that as 4.03?
I think we already have a 4.03.
I'm sorry.
We could add a 4. Should we add a 4.01 B?
A D, yeah, D is in Dan.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. That sounds good. And then in that same area of 4.01 E or F, maybe, just talking about, does the school district need any help? And they've done a fabulous job on accounting for all the expenses, but going forward with some of the invoices coming in for construction and just the volume and the size of some of that accounting work, do they need any help? Are they anticipating any need for help? Where does that come from? Does CSG kind of help with some? I mean, I'm thinking about retainage and different kinds of, use tax if tax isn't being accumulated. So just anticipating some of that with staffing issues, wanting a conversation about that.
So support with staffing issues?
If they're anticipating any.
Okay, and that'll be item E in 4.01, correct? Anything else? Okay, then with the 3 changes, to add a discussion on a student alternate, to add conversation or ask questions about the bond sale, and then anticipating staffing needs in the new business section. Can I entertain a motion to accept the agenda?
I move to accept the agenda.
Hey, Mark Harding, can I get a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Riley. All right, and you've all had the opportunity to review the minutes from February. Are there any additions or edits that you'd like to make?
And I would move to accept the minutes as written.
Thank you, Mark. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Riley. Okay, public comment. We're going to move forward to public comment. Have we received any public comment? I am not aware of any. Riley, do you know?
I have not received any specific public comment. I know there's been discussion about knowing some bid packages were out there, but I assume that will be covered kind of in the new business piece as a general topic. So that's the only conversation I've had this past month.
The only thing I've heard, not officially, but from a lot of people, is wondering, which I think is going to be part of our discussion, is just the hope of a groundbreaking, when that's going to happen. So I think it'd be good to get that out to people, because I've gotten lots of comments and questions surrounding some official celebration. Hopefully will be upcoming.
Yes, absolutely. And it's my understanding there was a date that needed to be moved. Is that correct, Mark Debach?
Yeah, actually, that's breaking news that I think was just decided on today. And correct me if I get this wrong, Jamie and Tex. April 27th at 4 p.m. will be the groundbreaking. And that's what we have at this point. So we'll pick a specific location on the site, and the kind of the invite list will be developed. Unfortunately, it probably won't be a y'all come because of the gathering size restrictions. But we're planning a big groundbreaking ceremony. Kind of taking what you guys suggested last time, since it's kind of the halfway point of the project, kind of making it a big deal, catch people up on where we are to this point, and then do the groundbreaking and make it a lot of pomp and circumstance as much as we can, and with our guidelines.
Do it upright.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Before we move on, I see we have two folks in the as part the attendees. I'm curious to know if either of them have any comments or questions. They can put it in right now through the Q&A form, I believe. And if not, we will move forward. I'm going to give it just a second. It's the most we've had in a long time, so thank you for being here. Okay, I'm going to move forward. If something pops up, we'll come back, circle back to it. So let's move forward to unfinished business 3.01. How do we communicate with the public? I think, the groundbreaking would be a great, thank you, Heather, for saying no comments. I think it'd be great to use the groundbreaking as an example for how we communicate with the public. So figuring out what, I know that there's probably, do we have a communications point person at the district right now? Is that Kelly?
Kelly or Linda.
Okay. So I think it'd be great if, I'm sure that will come out, and then just making sure that, we get the information that we need to help put that out through all of our spheres of influence.
Yeah, Linda's kind of taking the lead on planning the groundbreaking in cooperation with Cornerstone. Actually has a inclusion and
A DEI expert.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so Vicky is her name. So they're coordinating on and we got some other folks. Heather's one of them that have volunteered to kind of help do the planning for the groundbreaking. And I shared that the chamber would be more than happy to help spread that information as well.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Any other points of note for communicating with the public? Do we know, I haven't looked in the last month if the dashboards have been updated. Does anyone have comment on that?
The high school dashboard has been updated.
Fantastic. Okay.
I know, Tex, sorry to jump in. Tex, I know there hasn't been a whole lot of movement on the critical projects front as far as significant work being done, but it might be good to update that. I don't think it's been updated since. I think just moving the bar forward, just so people kind of see what we're coming up on, would be good to get on the update.
We started on Central Roof yesterday.
I saw them on the roof today. It was awesome.
That's great. Yeah, good point, Riley. We'll go ahead and I'll get that updated. That's a good plan.
Thanks.
Wonderful. So next item of business is to discuss bond oversight committee alternate member positions. We have 2 open positions and we received 2 applications. Riley, do you want to speak to either of those candidates right now? You're on mute, just so you know.
Thanks. Not specifically. I know I see Tristan is one of the attendees. So if you want to let them on, maybe if we have any questions, move them over to a panelist for the short time. I mean, I think the 2 candidates we have are equally qualified in very different fields, which is great. But and appear to be highly recommended from multiple fronts. So I guess from my side, I would just kind of open it up to discussion. I know there's some conversation that probably wants to be had about a student alternate, so we could have that. I guess at this time as well, but yeah.
I'd like to jump in just to say that Ken kind of forwarded Tristan along to us, and thank you for doing that, Ken. That was awesome. And Tristan and I had a great conversation a couple weeks ago, and Kristen has some very awesome, interesting experience that I think will come in very handy on the Bond Oversight Committee. Tristan, do you want to speak just briefly about what that experience can be, of how you see this fitting in?
Sure. I originally went into the, first I'll tell you, I'm a facility planner for Western Washington University. I work in their capital planning and development department. I'm a professional interior designer, but I go beyond interior design and do programming and management of Western's furniture program and interiors program. So I design in-house projects, but I also manage all our major public works projects. I connected with Ken because I had toured Seahome with some of Bellingham school districts managers, and I was able to offer some help and feedback, and I wanted to extend the same service to Ferndale because it's my alma mater. And Ken was like, I have a better idea. I'm going to send you this way. So when it comes to any interior materials, casework, furniture package especially, like that is within my wheelhouse.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tristan. Does anyone have any questions for Tristan?
I'm just curious, does Tristan were both candidates invited to the meeting, or does she come on her own will here?
I invited Tristan to the meeting, yeah.
And what about the other candidate?
I'm not sure. I didn't personally.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Brian.
I was gonna say, I appreciate that she came without, I think that goes a long ways for me right there. So.
Well, I can speak to the fact that the conversation that Tristan and I have, I am convinced of her passion for wanting to be helpful and you lending her expertise to this project. So I, for one, am super excited to have Tristan, excuse me, be part of this team as an alternate. So if there are no more questions, please, I would love to entertain the motion to bring Tristan on.
Did you have something, Sandy?
I thought they both looked great. And if we had 2 alternate positions, I would think, do you want to do this one by one, Anya?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would move to have Tristan Byers added as an alternate. I'm super excited.
I'll second that.
Excellent. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Welcome aboard, Tristan. We'll get you situated and you will probably receive an email soon with your own email address and access to the SharePoint site that we all share. And please note that you'll be needing to check that pretty regularly for how we communicate. All of our information is public and we do follow the sunshine rules here in Washington State. So for Open Public Meetings Act. So if you have questions about that, let me know and we'll get you all lined up. So let's talk about Mike. Does anyone have questions about Mike or concerns?
Mike or Matt?
Michael Contazak?
Oh, okay.
Well, is there also Matt?
There's no Matt that I'm aware of at this time.
I thought Michael's application and his years of experience looked great. I was talking to Riley Sweeney at City of Ferndale about another topic and mentioned this candidate. He spoke very highly of him, said that he can really debate issues without being disgruntled. And I think that that's a big part of being public facing, is to be able to discuss and debate and kind of go back and forth on things. So he's another person that I would be so happy to have on the committee.
Okay.
So do we want at this point, before we move forward on that, discuss the student position and how that fits into all of this?
Yeah. Do you have some thoughts on that, Mark?
Yeah, I was thinking of the student more as an observer, just wondering if we could kind of communicate to the civics or the leadership group that we exist, and that, you know, for somebody graduating even in 2023, 2024, 25, 26, whatever, it would be great to have them on as an observer.
Yep. So as an additional position, to be not as an alternate, but as an additional observer. I don't know what observer.
Be like a
Ad hoc.
student ambassador or something of that.
Yeah, something like that. I'm old and tired. I don't want to change bylaws of anything that I'm on right now. So I don't want to change anything. Just extend an invitation is all I was thinking of.
Are there any concerns about that from the district?
No, if that's something that you would like us to follow up on, Jamie and I actually are going to see Jeremy bright and early tomorrow morning, and we'll have a conversation about opening up the invitation to a couple of students to come participate as non-voting, non-alternate members.
It would be great to get their feedback too on things that, you know, have a different perspective than all of us old people on this call, right? Who don't want to change bylaws.
Yes. So if that's not going to impact it, then we could move forward with Michael's.
Yeah, I think so. Would anyone like to motion?
Real quick, I would prefer that we waited till he was in a meeting before we move forward with him.
Let's invite him to the next meeting. And
That's a
that way
good
we
point,
can
Fran.
ask him some questions.
Yeah.
Because there's no hurry at this point, right?
No.
Okay, so we'll
I
table.
agree. We'll table that. Yeah.
Mhm. Wonderful. And then, yeah, Mark, if you and Jamie want to talk to Jeremy about, you know, some students that might want to participate in that.
We will do that. And is one of you, Riley, Anya, one of the other, are you going to reach out to Michael?
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say that I think from a board perspective, having a student able to sit in on the meetings and understand what goes into building this high school, so it's going to be a great experience, probably long lasting.
I'm kind of bummed we didn't think about it sooner. That's okay. Better late than never.
One thing I would say, that I think we should be fairly clear on what we want. Do we want one? Do we want two? Are we asking for the rotation so they're not burdened by this? Or we want one who's going to be dedicated the whole time? So when I talk to Jeremy tomorrow, it's clear what we're looking for. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And I don't know what we're looking for exactly. Do we want just a different student all the time, or we're looking for someone to actually commit, one student commit to every meeting, or a couple, or what are we actually asking Jeremy to do?
I
Any
think
input?
it would be good if we asked Jeremy's opinion on this in
Okay.
terms of what works the best, and what we've seen with, you know, and maybe Andrew, you can speak to this. What we've seen with the school board is that we have those student, and I don't know what their role is, student board member or ambassador. They have a year term, isn't that right?
It's actually longer than that now. We started out with 1-year terms, and then we realized that really to have a longer impact on the student and to understand the board and be more active, we started taking applicants like their sophomore year or their junior year, and then they can be on for 2 years. And we're trying to stagger that so we don't change every year. And so Avneet has been on for 2, this is her 2nd year, and Kong, the other student, this is his 1st year.
And does Avneet graduate this year?
She does.
Okay, okay.
And we have a selection process. We interview students, we open it up so those who are interested can apply. And they're, I think, vetted through Jeremy or someone at the high school. And, you know, as we have done it, we've gotten a more diverse group, which is great. And I think for this, someone who's interested in construction or bidding or design or some aspect, we might actually find that you've got several students who are interested. And just my personal thought is the longer they have on this committee, the more they learn, as opposed to a quick rotation of students. You know, if there's an avalanche of people who are interested, we may have to rethink that. But certainly for someone, if they're really interested in this, to get in now when we're bidding and then see the construction and the impact of the construction and that sort of thing, I think would have more of an impact.
Absolutely. So I would be in favor of having 2 students that stayed with us for the duration of the project. So that would probably be a sophomore or junior at this point. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, and Andrew just listed off 3 of the, you know, interests they would have. I would the 4th of it, I would say, is project management.
Sure, absolutely. They're much more than just the 3 I stated.
Yeah.
So I think we should just shoot it by Jeremy to get some thoughts on it. And then, you know, I think we can come back to it, you know, next month and decide like what the process should be, because I do think there should be some type of skin in the game, if you will. Like I would really like to know that they're interested in the long haul of this project. And so maybe we ask them a few questions. So I think we can suss that out, and I'd like to give it some more thought during the, you know, weeks before we meet again. So can we table that for next week? And Mark and Jamie, you do some recon on your end? Okay, great.
One question I would have that Jeremy can probably answer is the kids, how do we deal with the summer? Because now they have a computer, you know, the school provided them, but they don't during the summer. And so there might be a little bit of a challenge there for some kids, and that might be a deterrent. We don't want that, so.
We can certainly work that out. We're actually contemplating changing that as a general rule, but for students that were participating in this, we would make sure that they had access to a computer. So that wouldn't be a barrier.
Good. Okay, good call, Joe. Anything else on the alternate topics or student topic? Okay. We'll move forward to the community corporate sponsorship update. It is just an update at this point. Thank you for those of you who have participated in the conversation so far. And we have a draft going that I have asked for people to put some thought into with some comments. And Tristan, I'd like to share that with you when you get your email so that you could get your eyes on it as well. The goal here is to present to the board, the school board, a plan of what a stewardship plan would look like for the district in pursuing corporate gifts to fund some big ticket items. And some of the items that we identified, you know, are obvious big ones like, you know, the stadium or each field to be turfed, not just the stadium field. So these are like the dream big conversations that we're having. And then we trickle down into some of the smaller things and smaller details, like within the Performing Arts Center as well. We know that we needed to do some structural changes to the PAC building because we didn't realize that that needed to happen. So some other things got lower on the priority list. So if we can find ways to fund them, that would be fantastic. So that's being built into that plan. Some things like the latest one that Brian brought up was like the tennis courts. They're not being addressed in this project. And, you know, we may find someone who wants to help, whether it's a single business or a number of individuals. So what we're looking at is a larger holistic plan that is scalable to some degree. So we're not quite ready to present it yet because I really want it to be something to really consider. And it would mean that if the district decides to move this way, it may mean really looking at a foundation, or it means that they need to consider how it can be achieved with just volunteers. So that's what we're kind of looking at right now. Are there any questions at this point?
You know, I'd just like to say, I really like the draft, and I apologize to Anya, but the night we were scheduled to meet was also the night that Linda made her public announcement of her retirement. And I ended up in a meeting with her and didn't make the other meeting. So I apologize for that.
Thank you for your apology. I knew something big came out because when Mark and Jamie got on and Jeremy got on, they were like, well, how about that news? And I didn't feel like I could ask, but I just let it fly. So, but yeah, thank you I'm glad you like where it's going. So,
yes.
Then
I've got something. Wait a second.
Oh yes, Brian, go ahead.
Jamie, have you guys had discussions about possibly doing the other fields too? And if so, I mean, is that something that can be slid into this project if the funding becomes available?
Yes, we've specifically talked about the second field that's next to the stadium.
Okay.
Being potentially turf. We've had discussions with the city about a grant partnership that we will look into trying to get some funding for, which would cover the total cost. So yeah, we're exploring those things. Obviously, it'd be nice to look at the baseball and fast pitch fields as well as maybe a soccer field if you're looking at big picture. So,
okay.
Yeah, some discussions, not a ton. Timing wise, the grant that we were talking with the city about, I think is in 2023. So we're not sure how that would work with where we'd be at in our project and whether we'd be able to, jump at the same time with that grant. So a lot of things still to work out.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Groundbreaking ceremony. The breaking news is April 27th, 4 p.m. So, I'm assuming that probably some of us will get invited. So maybe save the date. I'm not putting any eggs in that basket, but just.
I think that's probably a pretty safe assumption. So you may want to jot that one down.
So save the date. That's it for unfinished business. We'll move to new business. So we're into the district comments. So review of bond related spending for February 2021.
All right, Heidi is away on vacation. She'll be back next week. So, just looking at the expenditures to date, I need to make a correction. Unfortunately, I picked up the wrong total and on the dashboard, and got the total spent to date for all bond projects instead of specifically on the high school on that particular one. And I will realize that tonight, so I'll make that correction. But you can see our expenses today on high school are just a little over 5 million, 5,062,000. I don't know if there's any specific questions on spending so far today.
Does anyone have any questions? Sandy, I see you're shaking your head no.
No, I looked over everything. It all looked good.
Excellent. Wonderful.
Great. Okay. And then in your package, of course, you have a cash flow plan, estimated cash flow from Cornerstone. Heidi worked with them on, and that's in your package there too.
Were there any questions about the cash flow?
Tex, do you agree with that? Because that came from Cornerstone, right?
Yes. So do I agree with it?
And it looks yeah, it looks reasonable to you.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting on construction projects. You're always looking at, you know, at that bell curve and what it's going to be. You know, a project this big, the numbers get really big, really fast. And but as we see things gearing up, it looks very realistic. I think it's a good best estimate. Of course, it is just that. It's just an estimate, but I think we're on they've got a good track record of how they have from their previous project, and it's good to us there too. I haven't done any kind of serious evaluation, but from what we've seen here, we're feeling very comfortable with that estimate that they've laid out for us. Mark.
So good enough that we could actually release that to the public.
Mark, I don't see any issue. Oh, cash flow estimate, sure.
I would say the graph, I mean, definitely, you know, we don't need to necessarily release the spreadsheet component that builds the graph, but I think getting that graphic out and kind of making it in the same, you know, kind of general design of the other two dashboards we have, and kind of fitting that in as a third graphic component would be, you know, again, another great tool for the community to kind of see, you know, where we're tracking, and, you know, come next fall, we're spending some serious money month over month. So
yeah. Well, and like you say, with the dashboard up there at the halfway point where we're just about to hit here, we will be next month, you know, and the dashboard for the high school, the dashboard for the other critical projects kind of shows the cash flow. It's a lot of really good information and a good time to get it out. The groundbreaking and all that goes with it. Mm-hmm.
Was it Dykeman that did the design for the dashboards?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is that something we can ask them to do, or are we going to be having to pay way more extra for design time?
Are you saying just a way to show the cash flow graph? Is that what you're asking?
Mm-hmm.
We should be able to work with them to get the kind of the style to match. They should be able to handle that pretty easily.
Okay.
Yeah.
tell them to take it out of their pack estimate. Be fine.
What was that last comment?
I said, tell them to take it out of their pack bid. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll work on that. And then we're ready to go to our reports page. And Ken, you want to go ahead and kind of walk us through the relevant items there, please?
Sure. So it's been a long process, but we finally are signing leases with the railroad for the construction access. And originally they wanted 14 grand. We bent their ear a little bit and got them to 10. And then lo and behold, end of the story, they offered up another $3,000 rebate. So we're down to $7,000 lease. So half again what we started with. So that was really good. I think everybody's aware that we have our second round of bid packages due this week on Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday will be the bulk of the packages, a lot of the finishes and things like that. And then on Thursday, it's the items that Cornerstone is going to bid on themselves. So that's basically specialties and openings, and then the seismic upgrade. And then the next item, we had a bit of an issue with the stormwater outfall into Shell Ditch. And originally they showed the outfalls in the middle of the ditch, and apparently that was going to trigger a Corps of Engineers permit. So I worked with Mike Brock, the civil engineer, and we worked on the grades and did some adjusting and some fine tuning. And it looks like we've found a way to eliminate encroaching into the ditch and staying outside of the boundary. So that's great. We can avoid applying for that Corps of Engineers permit. And that leads us into the final application for the HPA permit. That should be pretty straightforward. We don't anticipate any problems there. Sorry, just lost my place in my notes. Tomorrow, we're going to be, some of the Ferndale staff is going to be touring Seaholm High School. And with the idea that we're going to kind of look at similar details to what exists there and what will exist at the new Ferndale High School. Perhaps a little bit of a lessons learned, look at the degree of concrete grinding and polishing that we might want to do at Ferndale. And then we're going to review FF&E and how they're using that in their teaching spaces, how they're setting up the furniture and equipment for those learning spaces. Right now, we're kind of into the re-review of the permit items. The resubmittal has gone in based on some comments from the city. And we're talking to them about getting an early demolition permit for the grandstands, which hopefully the second, third week of April, we might be pulling the grandstands down. So I'm leaning on the team hard to make that happen. So, and I don't think I've made anybody mad yet, but we'll keep pushing, right? And then Cornerstone is going to be taking site mid-April, and they've been out this week kind of coordinating with Jamie, getting ready to kill power to the grandstands, open up the temporary access through the railroad property, tearing down some canopies and things like that. So exciting to see those guys on site, and we should see a lot of activity happening over spring break. So, and that pretty much wraps up my update. Any questions?
Just one I had on permitting. Are we in for full building permit? Or are we anticipating getting demo permit and then a fill and grade permit and then a building permit? Or are we?
No, we're in for all.
Okay.
And the demolition permit was something that wasn't on the radar. I kind of brought it up about a month and a half ago saying, hey, we don't want to lose this time if they're going to want us to have a permit to demo the grandstand. So that's when that conversation started. But otherwise, for the primary permits, we're fully in with the city.
Okay.
They've not committed to a date, but it sounds like we're making good progress. So.
But we will get a demo permit first for the grandstands. Yeah.
Have you guys got comments back from the city yet and address those and kick those back yet, or nothing back from the city yet?
They're right in the middle of that process. So the exchange is going back and forth. So I think they should be down to, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tex, but I think they're approaching their final review, correct?
Yeah, that's what I understand too. And what's been so cool is the whole attitude has been so positive as the architects have been meeting with the city and back and forth. It's just a very, very positive working relationship. You know, of course, I'm sure you know, Haley has had her last day and has moved on somewhere else. And that was a bit of a concern for us, but the city up saying, no, they're so supportive of the new high school project. It's just great to see that. And you know, although we're not quite there, just all the interactions we've been having have been you know, I'll just say on the high end of the scale of positive interaction with city permitting agencies from my experience. So.
Just to kind of backtrack a little bit, I noticed I missed one item on my list. We've been taking some background readings on stormwater. So there's shell ditch along the east side of the project. So we're working with Geotest to collect turbidity samples in both dry conditions and then wet conditions prior to any construction starting. So we have a baseline. So on the dry day, we ended up at the south end with a turbidity reading of 40, which for dry conditions, it should be a 20 or below. So that was interesting. And just the confirmation, it's a good benchmark to establish, once we start construction, then if there's muddy water, we're going to be held accountable for all of it, unless, of course, we have that established benchmark. And so it'll be interesting to see what our turbidity readings are after 2 or 3 good days of rain. And one of the reasons, or 2 of the reasons we did that, is the railroad property has a lot of gravel. And when it rains, it produces a lot of muddy water. And we also have the overpass project happening to the north, which everything from that north side flows down through that ditch. So we don't want to get held accountable for that project's dirty water or the dirty water coming from the railroad. So that's why we're going through this process right now to establish the benchmark. I know that's probably really boring, but for somebody like me, I find it kind of interesting.
So just coming back to the big picture, it's just really an exciting time with, the first bid package, already through and complete. And in fact, by the way, that package, those bid results are, I believe, Tammy, am I correct? Did we get those just posted today to the bond oversight committees?
I did.
Sure.
I did post
Yeah.
it on SharePoint.
Yeah, so that information is available to you. And then now, over the next 2 days, with the rest of the bid packages coming in, that's really going to give us the rest of the information that the rest of the financial numbers that we need so much to finish putting the package together and to allow the district to come to the decision-making process of, all right, what alternates? My computer is telling me my internet connection is unstable. I hope you can still hear me okay, can you? Yeah. Anyway, we're just getting to that where the district will be able to make decisions about alternates. And so there'll be a lot of work going on over the next several weeks here as those final bids are basically confirmed and as those numbers are reviewed and put together. So I'm looking forward to when we all get together next month. We should be in a position of really knowing exactly where we are and in that regard. And that's just a major milestone we've been looking forward to.
Where are we right now, as opposed, as far as the bid, the low bid or the accepted bid versus the budget?
Well, we're right now at about $2.4 million under the target estimate. Accepted bids where we are. But remember, we've got all those alternates out there and we're hoping to be able to capture a lot of those, as many of those as possible. So, so right now that number is really, I wouldn't quote that number. It's like, well, it doesn't really matter. We're not there yet. We don't have all the bids. Once we get all the bids in, that's when we really will be at a point to talk more intelligently. But anyway, it's, it's positive to see where we are now. We're not, at one point in time, and probably some of you are aware, and I don't want to get in the weeds, but we had a mechanical bid that was much lower, and we thought, wow, this really helps us a lot. But that bid was pulled. It was not anywhere near the rest of the pack, and that did not come through fruition after all. So, but even with that in consideration, we're still in what we're feeling is pretty healthy shape, and looking forward to the next couple of days.
I have a question about the demo. I don't know CGI. I don't know who that is, but so it looks like they have a red asterisk. Does that mean that they were fully responsive and they've been given a notice of intent to award, or what is that?
Yeah, the red asterisk is the apparent low responsive bidder. And so that would indicate who is going to be awarded that contract. And so it's a little bit confusing, Joe, because if you look at like the concrete package and the structures package, next to the low bid, you won't see an asterisk because that was also a combined package. So in that upper portion, you'll see that red asterisk next to Cornerstone, who was awarded the combined package. I'm just pointing that out because it confused me at first too, but typically that red asterisk means that is the selected contract.
Yeah, I didn't see where Cornerstone actually submitted a bid for the steel fab and erect, but they obviously had to have per RCW, so. And then in the demo one, is that contractor doing the erosion and sediment control for the entire job, or just for where their scope of work is being performed, or what? Are we paying double? I guess my comment is, are we paying double for erosion and sediment control because we're doing it under two different scopes?
I believe that all erosion control is in Pelco's number, but I'll follow up on that, Joe, just to make sure. Every conversation I've had so far, that would be in the earthwork contractor scope to provide everything that goes along with the DESC and all of that stuff. So, but let me follow up and just clarify that because I don't know for sure.
So that means Pelco would probably have to come out early prior to the demo starting because they'll be required to have erosion sediment control for tearing anything apart.
So you're referring to the demo of the grandstands?
Yeah, they'll disturb ground. I mean, anytime you disturb really anything, especially on a project this big, you're doing it whether you want to or not. They're going to force it.
Yeah, so they're going to be showing up that week of spring break. And then we'll start installing a lot of the different stormwater protection. So we have some of that to set up at the railroad property as well. So, but yes.
Any other questions on the high school before I go to the critical projects?
Yeah, Tammy was nice enough to load the third drawing of the grandstands. I think it said it was just slightly over 2,000 seats. How many seats is the current grandstands?
Jamie, do you happen to know that? I don't recall.
I don't know the exact number. I want to say it was in the 1,500 range, but
okay.
I don't know that I don't recall that for sure.
Okay.
I can find that out though.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you guys have considered more capacity, not going down.
No, we are not going down.
Yeah, okay.
You've got more than Blaine. Right?
Yes.
So we have more than Blaine.
As Jamie said, one seat more.
Yep. Whether it's true or not, one more.
Quick question on
Oh.
quick question on the selected alternates. It looks like there's a mechanical alternate that's been accepted. I was trying to look through the spreadsheet quick to pull that out. Does anybody know what exactly that is off the top of their head, or what combo of things that is at this point?
I'm assuming it's our controls, isn't it?
Yeah, there's about $900 and some thousand worth of controls.
Okay.
And so that was listed as an alternate between a couple of different systems and a couple of different control contractors. So that's almost $1 million.
We're trying to cut, we wanted to get a district standard for controls. So we're in the process of 4 other schools being upgraded as well. And we wanted to make the decision on what we're going with in concert with those projects so that as we continue to move forward, we have a district standard that we're using at all our schools.
So that 976 is basically to bring that up to the same standard or same system.
It's to use the same system that we're going to be using at district wide here as we move forward.
Okay.
And then those other alternates, mechanical related, have to do with the other additional buildings and everything, that are there. So.
Yeah, I know they're kind of tracking all the alternates and seeing where it shakes out. It just looked like that was the only one that had been accepted. So I just wanted to, I didn't see offhand quick what that was.
Yeah,
So, thank you.
Okay. So
Real quick, Tex, Ken, before I'll shut up here in a sec, but right now we're seeing HDPE, PVC, anything related to plastics, oil-based products. They're holding prices for 10 days and it's escalating every 10 days about 10%. So I don't know how much of the what Pelco's plan is for that underground stormwater retention, but might very much consider telling Cornerstone to release them on the purchase of that material.
wow.
Well, and that's a really good point, Joe. We're seeing that all across the board. And I do believe that Pelco did lock in at that number. They took a gamble and locked in at the number. And so I believe they've already committed to that package.
Yeah, I'm just saying, even their vendors are putting no terms on quotes right now. I mean, I deal with the same people and nobody's putting terms on. Nobody's giving me any more than 10 days. So they're backing out. Even if they're putting terms, they're backing out. It's just ridiculous right now. So
Yeah, it's just crazy right now. It really is. But yeah, that's
I'll catch up with Sam in the morning and just double check on that. Okay.
yeah, that's a good comment. Okay, so on the critical projects, actually, got quite a number of things we're lining up for this summer, but just two I'll mention right now. We've actually, as Jamie actually just mentioned, we started on Monday, the central roofing. That was great. Jamie was able to talk and work with the principal, and we really didn't want to wait till summer. We wanted to get a jump on things and get going. And the way we're going to march around the project, be very limited noise above for individual teachers, a couple of days in there, and they were willing to work with that. And so we're excited to be able to get that going and get that project started. The other big one, and I've asked Ken if he'll go ahead and just kind of share with you the summary, is the DDC, the direct digital controls for the first two projects, but the 4 schools that we're doing. We went through quite an extensive process, and I asked Ken if maybe he could just summarize that for you. I'd like you to just understand, and I think it'd be valuable for you to see kind of what we've gone through on that one and for the district's benefit.
Who's got the control of the screen? Could you let me share?
Mark, are you working on that?
Sorry, I'm working on it. I got my mute on. It's trying to make me share. I don't want to do that. Hold on. Yeah, click a different button here. There we go. Should be able to do that now, Ken.
Yep, it's just coming up now, Ken.
Okay. Yes. You can see it okay?
You see the screen of everybody on the call. There we go. Now we got it.
I'm going to turn my camera off because I'm running out of bandwidth here. Okay, you can hear me okay though?
Yes.
So part of the critical building repairs portion of the bond outlined doing some DDC upgrades at 4 different schools. And Jamie and Mark came to us in the beginning and said, well, we don't want this just to go out to competitive bid. We want to pick the contractor who's the best qualified, who offers a system that we want and offers really good service. Which was a pretty big challenge because this job has ended up being about $650,000. So it would require that we go through a competitive bid process. So we used an RCW 39.04.270, which is covers electronic data processing equipment, which DDC controls falls under. So what we were able to do is design evaluation criteria on how to judge the proposals on things other than just cost. So we had a little bit of latitude in defining what that criteria would be. And what you see on the screen is the scoring that we used to judge the different proposals. So up at the top, this was the basis of design and the brand of the platform that we would use, and then the brand of the field devices. And then as related to that, the individual contractor's experience with those components. And then kind of that service component, what's their response time, hourly rates, what the software update provisions look like, cost of annual contract, et cetera. And then we did something a little bit creative. We said, if you want to give us a longer warranty, we'll give you more points. So we had people actually proposing 2 additional years on the warranty from the standard 1 year. And then of course, down here at the bottom, the pricing that went along with each proposal. So you can see our basis of design was 20 points and our service proposal was 20, but our proposed cost was only 15. And that was to try and broadcast to the contractors what the district was looking for. And that was a great system with great service at a reasonable cost. And so at the end of that process, we ended up selecting United Energy Engineers out of Bellingham, opposed to ATS, who's out of Burlington, and Long, who's out of more down in the Seattle area. So we've got a local contractor who the school feels really good about. And that's kind of leading the process and deciding which control contractor would be selected for the high school. And then that squarely establishes what the Ferndale district standard is for mechanical controls. So that's kind of the long and short of that process. So it was quite interesting and it was a great learning process, and we feel really good about who we picked. So.
So not specifically with what you just went over, but more just general philosophy. What is the rationale about spending $190,000 at Mountain View?
Jamie, do you want to take that question?
Well, we have one, the system is incredibly antiquated. It costs us money to, more money to run than it should because we're not efficient in our controls. It's a pneumatic system. It needs to be upgraded. The school is still being used. We'll actually get an additional program put there next year. So, you know, the
So what is the payback?
Go ahead, sorry.
How many years payback then? Additional program and cost. How many year payback to generate the $190,000 return?
I don't know that off the top of my head. It's
a 10-year, 20-year, 30-year.
Here's a 10, isn't the existing program, and Mark, maybe you can talk to this. Isn't there the existing program there now? Wasn't that in like a long-term lease?
It's actually not a long-term, but the way the building operates right now, it's on or off the entire building versus, you know, operating the lower wing and not the upper wing. So I don't know the payback. You're probably in the 10 to 15, 20 year range. If I had to venture a guess at that, but I think we're going to continue to use that building. And like Jamie said, I think probably more and more as we go through the kind of coming years and start, you know, one of the programs that's going to be moving there next year is the parent partnership program, and probably some of the virtual programs, because we're having quite a few of our students are still expressing interest in staying remote, because even once we come back to school full time, because it works for them. But we still have to have a place to house the teachers and provide parent support as well. So I think, we learned a little bit from North Bell, where we kind of really abandoned the 38 building, and it's to the point now where we couldn't use it if we wanted to. Whereas Mountain View is still a pretty good asset that needs some significant work, but we need to be able to maintain it for the time period that is coming, probably at some point, not too distant future, or at least foreseeable future, that we need to use that building more fully. So I think in terms of just protecting community assets, we need to treat that building as a ongoing concern. At least that was our thinking.
Okay, I'm just curious, right? We're spending 100,000 on North Bellingham. We're spending basically 190,000 at Mountain View. We've discussed revamping the CTE building for some of the things you just discussed, as far as like continued online learning. And we're under a tight budget, so I'm just trying to figure out, on each individual facility, why are we spending that amount of money? What is the lifespan or payback on that facility? And can those be actually connected into one facility? Did that make sense? Or you give me a funny look?
No, you got a Peter Frampton thing going on that's making it really hard to understand.
Somebody get that guy another drink.
Do I need to restate that?
Please do.
Okay, so we're spending 100,000 North Bellingham on controls. We're spending $190,000 at Mountain View.
Hey, Mark, turn your video
We've
off.
discussed in previous meetings about taking the current CTE program. We'll try that. Is that better?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, a little bit. Okay, so we're spending 100,000 in North Bellingham, spending 190,000 at Mountain View. In previous meetings, we talked about moving remote learning into the current CTE building and revamping that. So I'm trying to figure out what actually the goal is with basically we've encompassed those three facilities and spending that much money instead of combining those into one facility with the amount of money being invested. Does that make sense? Riley's giving me a blank stare.
No, I understand what you're saying in terms of program and consolidating what we have going on. I guess the argument that I would make is that we still need to continue to maintain and update those assets, whether no matter what we're using them for. Because, if anything, the last year or two has taught us that things are going to change constantly. And I think, we're anticipating a growth once we open the new school as well. So, there's a push, at least conversations going on about expanding early learning programs nationwide, which hopefully will come to Ferndale, which is going to increase space needs. So I think it gets down to just in my mind anyway, in my thinking on this, is protecting community assets, right? We've got to maintain and update the buildings that we have, because we're probably not going to be replacing them soon, right? If we were going to tear Mountain View down and build a new school, if we thought that was something that was going to be happening in the foreseeable future, I think you're making a really, really good point. But since that probably isn't going to happen, we're going to be in a position where we're going to need to populate that school and use it for whatever the programs are before we're in a position to be able to replace it. So
essentially, we're setting ourselves up for success in the future.
We're trying not to repeat the same mistakes that got us to the point where our buildings are so far behind and not well maintained that we're scrambling to be able to catch up.
and this has been a criticism of us, right? So, you know, we're replacing us, we're trying to replace controls, pneumatic controls. We can't even oftentimes find parts for the systems that we're working on in these 4 schools. And, you know, the cost of trying to repair issues that arise, you know, we're spending bad money. So I, you know, I firmly believe we're doing the right thing and to try to keep buildings updated and have the ability to come in and, you know, and easily slide a program in there that we're looking for space and not have to say, well, we need to do this, this, and this just to get the building up to being okay to have people in it. So I think that's, I understand the consolidation piece. It doesn't, we talked about Mountain View as a place for the high school programs you're talking about that are in CTE, but it doesn't work with oftentimes them having a class, you know, on campus as well as the program that we're going to have in CTE, for example. So there's no way they can get from Mountain View down to school in the time that they need to attend class at the high school, for example.
Yeah, so to clarify, I must have messed up. I was referring to the current CTE building. In previous meetings have been discussed using that for remote learning.
It's a different program.
Okay. Not
Right.
that CTE was going to use both facilities, that we're going to use the current CTE building for remote learning. Okay, sounds
For
good.
For a SOAR program that is different. That's not remote learning.
High school
Okay.
remote learning as well. So as opposed to elementary.
I just wanted to
Okay.
make a quick, I didn't want to cut you off, Mark, but I just wanted to make a quick comment that using that RCW is just brilliant. My hat's off to CSG for using that and to give the school district just an exceptional vendor. I was researching them after I saw that award, and I think you guys are saving money in the long term. I wonder with the CDC guidance on indoor ventilation, if you can use some COVID money on how you're going to be making some of those changes. And I think anytime you can give your maintenance staff some relief by having a SCADA system or a digital control, I think that that is going to save you in the long run. I'm super happy to see it.
Well, for example, we could, like Mark's saying, we had no way to know what's going on in those buildings heat-wise without being in them. Our HVAC guy is going around to each building every morning, and we may not even know about a problem in a classroom, for example, unless a teacher, you know, complains that, hey, it's way too hot or way too cold. So this gives us, you know, the technology to actually see problems in real time at those buildings, which is going to save us money. The decision to go with UEE over ATS, we have ATS in some of our buildings now. And, you know, Ken mentioned that they're in Burlington. We never get somebody from Burlington. We get them from Seattle. And we're paying them to drive up all the way to Ferndale and drive back for whatever they need to do. It's extremely expensive. So yeah, I'm pumped about the decision we made. I think that we're headed in the right direction for sure with UEE. And even though they were in these 4 schools, I think $39,000 more than ATS, we will easily save that money with the costs when we have service issues that they need to address.
Well, as far as the critical projects go, I think that wraps everything up in high school. Anya, I'll allow you to move on to, I guess, item D and E if you want to.
Yes,
I had
thank you.
one.
Go
I
ahead.
had one more thing on Tex's the maintenance projects. Just that line item on there that was the safety and security upgrades at Beach Elementary. You know, we have another day that there's, or another week that there's two mass shootings in the United States, and just really hoping that Beach Elementary gets secure before kids go back there in the fall. It would just be so nice to say that all of our campuses are secure campuses.
Thank you for pointing that out, Sandy. Moving on to item D, about the superintendent's retirement and bond sale. Sandy, you brought up some concerns around that, and would you like to ask formally?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up that I noticed your superintendent is leaving, and that you may need some relief in the summer from a bond sale, and just curious to know if you're going to be postponing it just to give your own staff some relief.
Thank you for that, since I'm the staff. No, we had not considered or contemplated, we haven't had a discussion yet about postponing the bond sale. Not to say we wouldn't consider it, but it hasn't, until you brought it up, it hasn't been a consideration. Let me say that.
Okay.
Has there been further discussion about the bond sale and where the market's looking like it's going to be heading into the summer, or have you not even got to that point?
We have our bond folks are keeping an eye on that right now. We've been focused on developing budget for next year right now. So as we get a little closer, we'll start paying a little more closer attention to that.
And then finally, I'm going to put Sandy in the hot seat again because you brought it up again. Anticipating staffing needs. Can you go over that one more time?
Oh, just wondering, you're going to start getting a lot of invoices that have retainage and may or may not have sales tax, and you're increasing your, excise use tax and things. This isn't something that Ferndale typically does, is $100 and some million bunch of projects all at once. So is Mark anticipating some need in accounting, and does CSG help with some of that? I wouldn't want the school district to get any kind of an audit finding, and they've just done an exceptionally clean job on all their prior audits. So just wanted to put that out there, that I was thinking about it, so I wanted to bring it up here.
Again, appreciate that. I know CSG is going to help a lot on that. So we are anticipating at this point that we'll be able to handle it with additional staff, or not with existing staff, and not need additional, but we'll certainly keep a very close eye on that.
Yeah, Sandy, that is a good point. And yeah, we do take that responsibility seriously. We help the district out really carefully in crafting the contracts, making sure the proposals are right, the numbers are right. And then we sign off, the district forwards the invoices to us, and particularly Heidi and tracks those and then signs off on those invoices to make sure that we're there. So it does, you're right, it will be an increasing scope of work coming up ahead. Those GCCM invoices get quite lengthy. There's a lot involved in that, but we really try to manage that and guide that and review those. And then when we're comfortable with it, we bring it back to the district for final processing and payment.
So our Tex, Ken, maybe, CSG is doing the percent complete verification. We'll be doing that process on Cornerstone's billing.
We normally, Riley, do that jointly with the architect. We get the pay applications, and then the architect goes through it, and so do we. And then we discuss where we agree, and if we don't, and if we push back if we need to, or so yeah, it's a twofold review process.
Okay, and then kind of adjacent, Sandy, I don't want to completely take over your topic here, but kind of adjacent to that topic, with the bid packages coming out, Cornerstone has bid and was apparent low on a couple of them, and a couple of the bigger ones thus far. What is in place, or what kind of structure is in place to avoid some, what can be construed as kind of double dipping with general condition costs and general condition staffing overlap into that essentially subcontractor role that they're having.
Yeah, as you are highlighting in the GCCM process, you got to be really careful with that because some of those lines can be blurred a little bit. And as we finish, the bidding process and prepare to get things to the guaranteed maximum contract price, that is a point that's well taken. And we have, fortunately, a number of our CSG team are currently working with Cornerstone on several other projects. And it's kind of been nice. It's kind of like we've had an insider who's just been working with them, and they've been able to highlight, and Heidi spent some time specifically working with one of our other project managers down at Fife, just been working with Cornerstone on multiple projects, to suggest things to be working together closely, to be looking at closely, I should say, for that very purpose, to make sure we're reining in and kind of making sure we've got a tight ship. And so that is a process that's, over these next number of months here, as we're kind of finishing up getting the contract package together, that's very important. So appreciate you highlighting that. And we've already been talking about it in-house, but it's a good thing to be reminded of, to make sure we get those really cleaned up really well. It was very encouraging to see Cornerstone come in with a significantly lower bid on one of those packages than everybody else. And we're glad they were absolutely comfortable holding their number. That was a big plus. Ken, I don't know if you remember exactly how much that was at their concrete bid. That was significantly less, but it was pretty significant. So that was encouraging.
Have they provided any sort of staffing matrix or staffing schedule? Because I know all that stuff is essentially not necessarily cost plus, but reimbursable, a reimbursable type model from that, from the CMGC side. So are they providing a matrix, or what kind of safeguards, other than just keeping an eye on it, it's there in place to kind of see where CSG's or Cornerstone staffing's at?
That'd be a really good question, because Heidi's kind of been managing that, and with her not here, I can't say, but we'll circle back on that with you next month, and when we have our meeting.
That's coming from somebody who was a 50-50 CMGC subcontractor employee, but spent 100% on the subcontracting side. So
yeah.
Yeah, and to back that up, Riley, I would be a little bit concerned. Their price is so much lower that they're running it with the single management crew that they have, because that's easy to do and easy to take an advantage on, at bid time. So that needs to be definitely monitored to ensure that they're not running the work with the same staff that you're already paying, under a separate budget.
Mm-hmm. Good input. Mm-hmm.
So Tex, you'll follow up with Heidi on that for next week or next month?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay,
I don't
friends.
mean to be doom and gloom. There is positives to having Cornerstone self-manage their own work. By all means, there's just opportunities to be taken on their part that we need to be aware of. So
That's right. That is the nature of GCCM. We got to be very careful about that. So your points are well taken and very important.
Well, and just so you know, the pack was at about average 4.2, 4.3. The second lowest number was 4.1. Cornerstone was at 3.1. So there's $1 million in the kitty because of that number. And so that's a lot of money.
Out of curiosity, what was their steel number? I mean, I guess I could do the math, but it's not shown on this spreadsheet.
They submitted a combined, and with the steel, the structures package, the combined between
about 4.5.
The
that what it is?
3.1 and 5.1, they were at 7.6 million for both.
Yeah, so 7.6 minus 3.1, you're basically 4.5 for the steel package, which Tiger was at 4.5, so they're 250.
Yeah, they're
basically.
competitive there, yeah.
Yes.
Dare we move forward? Okay.
Let's go.
4.02, our 6th quarterly report to the school board is next week. You have all had an opportunity to review and add comments to the report. Are there any final thoughts or comments that you would like to make?
Would it be possible to spell my name correctly? I don't know how many, I see it keeps coming up on us every quarter, so I'm wondering if it's just on the template wrong or something.
Just take the old report and change it, so, and then we change it one last time and send it in and don't save it. And then you're stuck again.
And I am so sorry.
It's okay. I don't know who spells your name with a Y. I don't even know why anybody made that up in the first place.
Someone very special spells it with a Y.
Yeah,
Aside from
Less
that
cool.
spelling the error.
I thought, yeah, other than that, I thought it was great.
Okay, Sandy and Mark Harding, you are my two biggest critics here. What are your thoughts?
I can't find my mute button. I thought it was great. I've read it through a couple times and I don't have anything to add.
Mark Harding?
No, I thought it looked good.
Okay.
Can you hear me
Anyone
now?
else? Yes, of course. Joe Lupo, any thoughts?
No, I read it and I thought it looked good. I know that you originally had asked me to write something in it, but I never really circled back with you, and I felt like everything was pretty well covered, so I stayed
Okay.
quiet.
Okay. So it's my understanding that I'll present, is that correct, Riley? Next week? You need a night off?
I think at this point, if you could, my wife would appreciate it. I can tell you
I would
that
be
for sure.
I would be happy to. So for the powers that be needs to send me the invite for that meeting, and I'd be happy to report out.
Are you good with making the last modification and getting a final draft out?
Yes.
The one
Yeah.
modification? Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
I'll change it on my end, on my template. So actually, I
Here.
might just leave it so it comes up again on purpose this time.
See if anyone's paying attention besides Brian. Okay, last item then is our meeting opportunities. We have touring at Bellingham's Option High School and Seahome. And if anyone has been following the chat, we're really throwing Tristan right into the fire here. And I've asked her if she's able to attend tomorrow, and she said yes, but she may need to leave a little bit early from the Seahome one. It looks like we've got the bid set coming up on March 24th. The second opening, that's virtual. And then the 25th is another one on seismic upgrades and construction specialties. Does anyone want to talk to those opportunities? Ken, I'm looking at you.
The bid openings are, they're open public, so everybody can attend those.
Okay, perfect.
The tours, we need to limit the number.
Yes.
Yeah.
So is anyone else from the BOC able to attend the tours? Just
I'm not.
Tristan.
Yeah, welcome. There you go.
Thanks for taking one for the team right off the bat.
Is there a public, have you guys posted a public, I assume it's Zoom for the bid opening tomorrow?
Yes, I believe it was in the Friday bond update, and I will have to check and see if it's on our website or not.
Okay.
But we'll make sure it's on there tomorrow. Do you know, Tammy, if it's on the web?
I do not know if it's on the web.
We'll verify and make sure it gets posted on the website.
Okay.
What bid item falls under food service? Or what,
Assume it's
what
equipment.
scope of works fall under food service?
That's like the cafeteria, kitchen.
Just like kitchen equipment?
Mhm. It's kind of a specialty unto itself.
Yep, all the stainless steel, the refrigerators, freezers, all the big equipment.
Hey, anything else for the good of the order?
I had a question. What is the district looking at salvage opportunities for any of this stuff? Moving to other schools, other, newer kitchen equipment, moving to other kitchens in the district, or any of the above as you go through and start demoing these things? Are we making sure we're thinking about that?
For sure, all the usable equipment will get repurposed.
I did like how you said newer. That's a relative term, Joe.
What's that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear
The
you.
term newer equipment is relative in our district.
Yeah, well, hey, newer, it's not newest.
We still call the new gym from
It's new to
74.
somebody.
That's
Yeah.
right. It's always new to somebody.
Where will those Zoom meeting links for the bids meetings be posted at? I had a hard time finding the second round last time.
I don't know what to ask. We can send you a link directly, but when we talk to Kelly, who's doing the web posting tomorrow, I don't know if she'll put it on the front as a kind of one of the news items and or the bond page.
Okay. Great.
Okay, so follow up. Jamie and Mark, you'll follow up with Jeremy about the student ambassador position. I'm going to reach out to Michael and ask him to come to our next meeting. I will make the change of properly spelling Brian's name and sending that report to Tammy. And I think that is all of my notes for action for the next little while. If that is all, I would like to thank our 2 attendees, one that came over to the panelists, and thank you, Heather, for sticking with us this entire time. We appreciate you being here. And if that's it for everyone else, I'll call this meeting closed at 7:30 on the dot. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Take care.